I have been eyeing this book for years, but this one just called to me for some reason. I just thought I'd love it. I am very excited to read this. I loved the show. Hello, welcome back, or welcome to my channel. My name is Ian, and today I'm talking about books like I always do. It's just my thing on here and in life. For today's video, I am going to be doing my 5-star predictions, and I have a lot of books on my TBR and just books I've marked as one to read on Goodreads that I think are going to be 5 stars. 32 books in all. So, without further ado, let's get into it. But first, I think this is good to say in the beginning of my videos. If you would like, I would really appreciate a subscribe and a comment and a like. It just really helps me out, helps the YouTube channel out, and helps me to be able to keep doing this. So I'd greatly appreciate it if you did that. You don't have to, but you would make me happy. So yeah, now let's start the video. So our first category is contemporary books. So, you know, just books set in our modern time, dealing with realistic troubles and problems. So the first book I have is Long Way Down, and I am excited for this one. It's going to be a short read, which I'm excited about because it's written in verse. Yeah, so you can see it's just poems. So this book is about this boy who is taking an elevator down to shoot this man who had shot his brother and kill him. It basically takes place in the span of 1 minute as this boy descends down the elevator, and it just goes through poems and just what has happened. And I think that sounds really interesting. I've never read or even heard of a book that takes place in like a minute. So yeah, that is my first 5-star prediction. So the next book is another book written in verse, and I don't have it physically, but I want to get it, and it is this book called Starfish. So Starfish is about this overweight girl named Ellie, who has been fat-shamed her whole life after wearing a swimsuit with a whale and making a big splash in the pool. Kids have been bullying her and making fun of her, and Ellie's only escape is the pool in her backyard, where she feels weightless in a fat-obsessed world. Ellie's mom is very pushy and likes to fat shame her, thinking that will help her get on a diet and lose weight. Fortunately, she has some allies like her dad, her therapist, and a friend named Catalina who moves in across the street, who loves Ellie for who she is. And with this support, Ellie might finally be able to starfish in real life and be her unapologetic self. It just sounds really cute, really heartwarming, and just a good read and something that's important to read. I'm predicting it will be 5-star, and I think it's cool that it's in verse as well. So the next category is memoirs and nonfiction. I have both of them here because technically I feel like they're all memoirs, but one of them like borders on nonfiction, so I decided to call it both. And for the first book I have on this list, it is Angela's Ashes. I have heard a lot of good things about this. My mom loved this book, and she loaned me her copy, so thank you, Mom. It just sounds like a very interesting memoir. So this book follows a man named Frank McCourt, who was born in the Depression era in Brooklyn to Irish immigrant parents and raised in the slums of Limerick, Ireland. And it basically just follows his life, his childhood, and how it was not very good. It won the Pulitzer Prize Award and seems like a very highly acclaimed read. So I am excited, and I have a good feeling about it. So the next book I have is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. I'm sure no one is surprised by this. It's been everywhere, and everyone's giving it 5 stars, and I'm sure I'll love it. I loved iCarly when I was a kid, so it will be very interesting to get an inside look at what actually was going on. And so basically this book just follows Jennette's childhood in life as a Nickelodeon star and growing up with a very abusive mother. It's just supposed to be a wonderful, wonderful read, and I am very excited for it. So the next book I have is Braiding Sweetgrass, and I don't have this one physically, but I really want to read it. It's definitely on the TBR. And it is about this woman named Robin Wall Kimmer, who is a botanist and a member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. And she's teaching you all about the earth. She embraces the notion that plants and animals are our oldest teachers. And basically she's teaching you about the earth and all it can offer. It just sounds really good. I love nature. I love outside. I think this is going to be a really enlightening read, and I'm very excited. So the next memoir I have is In the Dream House. It's written by this woman named Carmen Maria Machado. It follows her experience in a very abusive lesbian relationship and follows what has happened to her and how she got out of this relationship and what happened while she was in the relationship. My sister read it. She said it was fantastic. And I've been wanting to read this one for years, I would say. That is all for our memoirs. But yeah, I'm thinking they will all be 5 stars. Hopefully. So the next genre is literary fiction, which is basically just contemporary for adults, in my opinion. Mostly contemporary is like YA. Alright, and for literary fiction, I have 3 books. So the first one is Little Fires Everywhere, and I am very excited to read this. I loved the show. I thought the show was fantastic, and I'm sure the book is probably better, because that's usually how it goes. So Little Fires Everywhere is about this woman named Elena Richardson, who is an affluent white woman in a town called Shaker Heights. And when a mother and her daughter move in across the street, it shakes Elena's world because they do not follow the rules that she thinks they should follow. And yeah, I'm so excited. This is going to be wonderful. I already know it because I love the show. I'm thinking a 5 star, but we'll see. So the next book I have is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I've been very excited to pick this one up as well. It's really short, which is nice. Yeah, it's like 240 pages, and it follows this young Vietnamese man who is writing a letter to his mom who can't read English. And basically this is the letter. It goes over his life, deals with themes like sexuality, race, class, and masculinity, and it just sounds like a very powerful and really beautifully written read. And I'm very excited to pick this one up. So the next one is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and I am dying to pick this book up. Like, I don't have any money, but if I did, I'd probably go buy it right now. I just have this feeling about this one. Like, I just think I'm going to love it. It just sounds super interesting and just like a really good read, and I've seen so many people rate it high ratings. So Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow follows these 2 friends, often in love but never lovers, and they come together as creative partners in the world of video game design, where success brings them fame, joy, tragedy, and ultimately a kind of immortality. It just sounds really cool and really fun, and I can't wait to pick this one up and give it 5 stars. I'm assuming. So the next genre I have is historical fiction, and I'm kind of surprised. I didn't think I would have that much historical fiction on this list, but I have like 6 books worth of historical fiction, and I did not think it would be that much, but alas, here we are. So let me tell you about them. So the first book is The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett, and I have been eyeing this book for years. I always looked at it in the stores and wanted to pick it up. I never had enough money, so I never did. And then I actually found this in a little library, so I picked it up. It's not the most beautiful edition, but it's the book. I am very excited to read this. I just have a good feeling about this one. So this follows 2 black twins growing up in a small town, and they are desperate to get away from it, and they run away together. But many years later, one twin lives with her daughter in the same small southern town that she tried to escape so many years ago, and the other twin lives in a rich neighborhood with her white husband as she secretly passes for white. And yeah, I've heard so much good things about this. It's definitely been a book with a lot of buzz around it, and I'm very excited to read it and see what I think. So the next book I have is Last Night at the Telegraph Club. I have been intrigued by this one for a while as well. I just never picked it up, but I'm assuming I'm going to love it. So it follows these 2 girls in 1954 who fall in love at this telegraph club, and it's 1954, so obviously that is not accepted. And also our main character, Lily, is a Chinese American whose dad is under threat of deportation. And it just sounds really good. I love the premise of this, and I think it's going to be all around a really good read, and I am excited to pick it up. So the next book I have is The Kite Runner. This is another very widely loved book, and I have just heard a lot of great things about it. So The Kite Runner takes place in 1970s Afghanistan, where 12-year-old Amir is desperate to win the local kite fighting tournament, and his loyal friend Hassan promises to help him, but neither of the boys can foresee what is going to happen to Hassan that afternoon, an event that is going to shatter their lives. After the Russians invade and the family is forced to flee to America, Amir realizes that one day he's going to have to return to Afghanistan under the Taliban rule to find the one thing that his new world can't grant him: redemption. So yeah, that one just sounds really good. A very highly acclaimed book. So the next story I have is Pachinko. And Pachinko is basically about this Korean family that spans generations and generations, and we follow the generations of this family. And it just sounds really fascinating, really good, and I also heard it was pretty heartbreaking. We'll see what I think of this. Hopefully 5 stars. So the next book I have is The Nightingale. And this book has like 4.6 stars on Goodreads, and like a million ratings, so that's kind of crazy. I've never seen anything get rated that well, so I'm assuming I will love it too. I'm not that special. I pretty much like what other people like. So this takes place in France when the Nazis invade in World War II, and we follow a woman named Viviane whose husband went out to war, and now she has to take a German general into her house and have him live with them. She is forced to make one impossible decision after the other to make sure her family is safe. We also follow Viviane's sister, who is a rebellious 18-year-old, who joins the resistance, risking her life to save others. So yeah, I'm very excited for this one. I think it sounds really good. The next book I have is called Great Circle, and I have been drawn to this one after Reagan from Peruse Project talked about it. And I thought it sounded really good, and she really loved it, so I was like, I should give it a try, and I just have a good feeling about this one. So Great Circle follows the unforgettable story of a daredevil female aviator determined to chart her own course in life at any cost. And I am just very excited for this one, like very excited. I will probably be listening to the audiobook because it's really long, and I don't like to read really long books. I like to listen to them. That's that book. I am excited. So the next category I have is horror, and I have 6 books in this one. I'm also counting like gothics here, so it's kind of like there's some gothic horrors as well as just gothics. And I put them all in this category because I think it kind of fits. But yeah, I will tell you what they are. All right, so I'm going to start off with the big horror banger. And that is Stephen King. I have 2 of his books here, and I really love the movie. Well, I loved one of the movies, and I just love the premise of the other one, so I'm anticipating it's going to be a 5-star read. So the first book I have is Pet Sematary by Stephen King, of course. So this follows a man who has just accepted a new job and has moved his family to a small town in Maine. And in the woods, there is this pet cemetery. And basically, this pet cemetery is a very ominous place, very creepy, and people don't want you to go there. And basically, the thing about this is if you bury a pet in the pet cemetery, it will come back to life, but it will be weird and different and not like it was before. I just find that to be very intriguing, so I thought that sounded really good, and I am thinking I will love this. I also love horror movies and horror stuff as it is, So the next book is Misery, and I love the movie for Misery. I think it's so good. I've watched it like 3 times, and yeah, so I'm assuming I'll love the book because I loved the movie. So Misery is about this writer who gets in a really bad car accident, and this woman takes him into her home and starts caring for him. But as he starts to get to know her, he starts to realize that she is not all there and is kind of crazy. I love the movie, and I'm assuming I'll love this too. So the next book I have is a manga, and that is Uzumaki. Is it upside down? It's upside down. Uzumaki. I read a little bit of this at Halloween time, and I really enjoyed it, but then it was like not Halloween time anymore. It was Thanksgiving time, and I was like, I don't really feel like reading this during like the festive season. I want to read it during the spooky season. So that's why I stopped. But I am anticipating I'll love this. It was already really good. It's creepy and scary, and I really enjoyed it so far, and I think I will probably be giving it 5 stars when I finish it. So this story is about this small town in Japan that is being terrorized by spirals. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it's pulled off really well. It's basically like these people, they get obsessed with the spirals. Spirals haunt them, basically. Like that's all they can think about. They're everywhere. It's a really, really strange story, but also I think very, very creative, and I am excited to finish this. Alright, so the next horror book I have is Delicious Monsters by Liz L. Samberry, and basically I think this one is kind of like, it says The Haunting of Hill House meets Sadie, so kind of like a creepy gothic with like a mystery to it. And it follows these 2 timelines of 2 girls who are living in that house at separate points in time, and all the supernatural and weird stuff going on. And that's right up my alley. I love gothics. They're like one of my favorite genres. I was obsessed with Mexican Gothic. I thought it was so good. I think I would love this one. I'm always here for creepy haunted house. And on the topic of Gothic, I have 2 other Gothics that I don't have but I want to read. And the first one is The Hacienda, which they say Mexican Gothic meets Rebecca, and Rebecca is the other one I have. So I loved Mexican Gothic as well, so that's like obviously a word where I'm like, ooh, gotta get that. It is set in the aftermath of the Mexican War of Independence, and it is about this woman who moves to this remote house. There's a sinister haunting, and she is pulled into the clutches of this haunting in this house, and I just love that. I think it sounds really good. I'm excited to read it. And the last one is Rebecca. So Rebecca is about this woman named Rebecca who made this mansion the way she is, and she has died, and everywhere you look there's Rebecca. She lingers basically in how she made the house. Everyone talks about her, everyone remembers her, and so Rebecca's husband has remarried, and our main character is his new bride. And basically, she sees shadows of Rebecca. It's all about Rebecca. Like, Rebecca has, like, takes over her life, basically, and it's like she's in this creepy mansion, and it's a gothic, and I am obsessed with these stories, so I'm sure I'll love it. It's also classic. So I've been trying to get more into classics as well. So the next category I have is fantasy, and I have 7 fantasy books because fantasy is my favorite genre, and I was like, yes, we'd love to see it. A lot of 5-star predictions I have. So the first one I have is Legends and Lattes, and I've just heard a bunch of great stuff about this. It's supposed to be adorable and cute and sweet and like a cozy fantasy. I love that kind of stuff. I think it's so fun, like Stardew Valley vibes. So basically, this is about an orc named Viv who was like a really great fighter and was in the war, and she had this violent past, and she wants to lay down her sword and just open a coffee shop in this small town. And it's basically about how she runs this coffee shop, her patrons at the coffee shop, and it's just supposed to be sweet and cozy and just like a happy read. And I am very excited to pick this one up. So the next book I have is Piranesi. And I am also incredibly intrigued by this book. So basically it follows this man named Piranesi who lives in this labyrinth, and he knows it very well. The halls are lined with statues, there are a bunch of endless corridors and stairs, and there is an ocean that sometimes floods the corridors and the stairs. And basically Piranesi meets this man, and his world is uprooted as he learns that all the stuff he thought was true about the labyrinth isn't necessarily true. I think that sounds amazing. It's really short too. I'm just incredibly excited to read this one. Alright, so the next fantasy I have is Howl's Moving Castle, and I love the Ghibli movie for this. I think it is just fantastic, like every Ghibli movie is, basically. I heard the book was really good too. I'm assuming I'll love it because I loved the story of the movie. I heard this is very different than the movie, but I'm still sure I'll love it. I love the characters and everything. So this is about a girl named Sophie who basically pisses off this witch named the Witch of the Waste, and she turns her into an old lady. So now Sophie's only way to become young again is to find this wizard named Howl who lives in a moving castle. You should watch the movie. I'm excited to read this. I'm sure the book will be great. Alright, so the next book I have is Fifth Season, and I have just heard so much good stuff about this. It's supposed to have a really good twist. It's supposed to be fantastic. It has a second person point of view, which I think sounds very interesting, and they say it's wrapped all together very well. So basically this follows 3 perspectives of 3 women, and in this world, the 5th season is coming, which means the world is basically tearing apart, and there's enough ash spewing to darken the world for centuries. Yeah, I just heard so many good things about this. I am so excited to pick this one up. Yeah, I'm sure it will be a 5-star. I'm pretty sure at least. So the next book I have is Mari and the Night Brothers, and this is supposed to be just a really fun middle grade, and I've really been on a middle grade kick lately. I love Nevermore. I read Island of the Blue Dolphins and loved that, so I'm assuming I will love Amari as well. And Amari is about this young girl named Amari, whose brother Quentin has gone missing, so she enrolls into this magical school that he was in to get answers about what happened to him. But I think it sounds really good. I've just heard a lot of buzz about this one, and I think I'm going to really love it. So the next book I have is Witch Hat Atelier. I think that's how you pronounce it. Sorry if I didn't pronounce it right. And it's about this young girl who is in a world of magic and spellcasting and dragons, and all she wants to do is become a witch. But unfortunately, she has no power, so she can't become a witch. She's starting to get down on herself, thinking she'll give up on her dream when she meets this really powerful magician and discovers her dreams might not be so far away. This is a manga, and there's something about this one that just seems like I'll really enjoy it. I love the cover. I just have heard a lot of good things about it, so I am anticipating I'm gonna really like this one. And the last one for fantasy is Tress of the Emerald Sea. This is a new release by Brandon Sanderson, and I just really liked the description of it. I thought it sounded really fun, so I'm assuming I'm going to love it. I heard all his books are really good, so So basically, this follows a girl named Tress who has a very simple life on her island. And when her best friend goes on a voyage and disaster strikes, she seeks out on the ocean to seek the sorceress of the deadly midnight sea. And this ocean is an ocean filled with spores, basically, and one drop of water could mean death. I just think that sounds really weird and interesting, so I'm excited to pick that one up too. I'm assuming I'm going to love it. So my last category I have is sci-fi books, and I have 4 sci-fi books. So the first one I have is Light from Uncommon Stars. This one just called to me for some reason. I just thought I would love it. Sometimes I just get like that gut feeling, so I am thinking I'm going to give this one 5 stars. But we'll see. So this is about a woman named Shizuka who has made a deal with the devil. To escape damnation, she must sell 7 prodigy souls to him, and she has already sold 6. When a young transgender runaway named Katerina catches Shizuka's ear with her raw talent, Shizuka can already feel her curse lifting. But in a donut shop off the highway, Shizuka meets this woman named Lan Tran, who is a mother of 4, and Shizuka feels like she has no time for crushes. Lan's kind eyes and warm smile might just redefine what a soul is worth. I just think this sounds really good, and TJ Klune blurmed it, and he did House on the Cerulean Sea, and I loved that book, so I am very excited to pick this one up. So the next book I have is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I just think this is going to be such a fun and funny read. In the beginning of this story, Earth is going to be destroyed to make way for a galactic highway, and right as it's about to be destroyed, Arthur Dent is plucked off Earth by his friend Ford Perfect, a researcher for the revised edition of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, who for the last 15 years has been posing as an out-of-work actor. Together, this dynamic pair travels through the galaxy paired with a bunch of very funny and quirky side characters. So I think I'm going to love this. I am very, very excited to pick this one up, and it's tiny. I heard it gets bad after like the 3rd book, but the first book, I'm sure I'll love it. So the next book I have is All Systems Red. So this is in the Murderbot series, which is basically a bunch of novellas about this robot named Murderbot who develops a conscience and becomes very introverted and nervous and shy and just wants to watch his soap operas and not interact with people. And everyone who meets him thinks he is this emotionless murder machine. So I think it's supposed to be really funny and cute, and I think that premise sounds really good, and I think I will probably end up loving it and giving it 5 stars. So the last book I have on the list is This Is How You Lose the Time War. I've just heard a lot about this, and I think it sounds so wonderful. So I'm excited to pick this one up and see if I really think that it is worth my 5-star rating. So this is about these 2 women who are in a time war, and they leave letters for each other, like taunting each other. And then through the letters, they get to know each other, and a romance blooms. And I just think that sounds very interesting and like a very cool concept. So I am also very excited to read that one, and I think I'll love it. Alright, so that was the video. Thank you so much for watching. I went through a lot of books here, and I hope you enjoyed. If you wouldn't mind, I would love a subscribe, a like, and a comment. It really does help, but you don't have to. So I think that's all for me. Bye!